Let's go back in time to our reporting a couple weeks before the Republican convention, where we were told that the Trump staff was trying to push Governor Pence. To Dan's point, he'll reassure conservatives at a time a lot of conservatives were in open revolt. The Republican Party was saying, who is this guy? Is he one of us? About Donald Trump. They were pushing Pence, and Trump was making clear he wanted to go with his heart and his gut, somebody like Chris Christie. So once Pence was picked, there was the traditional 60 Minutes interview with the running mates. Just a little bit of flavor here to show these two back still at the getting to know you phase.
Right.
Clearly, this man is not a politician. He doesn't speak like a politician.
He's done pretty well.
He speaks from his heart.
I think that's a good thing.
He speaks from his heart. And
well, I think I speak from my heart and my brain, just so we understand. A lot of people speak from their heart.
Right.
This is maybe more important.
So that was the interesting, awkward getting to know you moment, including in that interview, Leslie Stahl asked Donald Trump, but Mike Pence voted for the Iraq War. And Donald Trump said, well, it's a long time ago, it doesn't matter. And she said, well, wait a minute, you say it's central to Hillary Clinton's judgment now, but you give Mike Pence a pass.
I mean, it was unusual, but we are going to hear that tonight, of course. His voting record is going to be front and center in this. But again, I still think, I mean, as Jonathan said earlier, these are two, I mean, if there are gentlemen still in this business, these two certainly are, I think. So I don't expect them to be, sparring nearly as much as last week. But they do have to get their points in here. So Tim Kaine has been very fiery on the campaign trail, very aggressive against Donald Trump. I'm watching to see what his sort of anger level is here, because he is the attack dog in every way, more than Mike Pence is.
Well, and I think it's interesting because Mike Pence does not have a reputation as an attack dog. He has a reputation of somebody who can stay on message and deliver a message, but he has not been somebody who has been a slasher in his campaigns. And so both because of that and what you just said, Jeff, in terms of having to strike that balance between being loyal to Donald Trump and preserving his own political future, that's a tricky set of things to navigate in the heat of a debate.
And in terms of his discipline, we talked a bit earlier, Donald Trump left a lot of opportunities on the table in the first debate. He blamed the moderator after. But again, you can ask somebody if you like apple pie, and you can talk about the Clinton Foundation. You can ask somebody what time of day it is, and you can bring up the email server. One thing Mike Pence has done repeatedly on the trail, and we expect it to come tonight, is attack Hillary Clinton's record as Secretary of State. And he likes to talk about a conservative favorite, Benghazi.
And it was Hillary Clinton who left Americans in harm's way in Benghazi, and after 4 Americans fell, said, what difference at this point does it make? As the proud father of a United States Marine, let me say from my heart, anyone who said that, anyone who did that, should be disqualified from ever serving as Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the United States of America.
It'll be interesting to watch tonight as he presses these attacks, whether he waits for a moderator to take him there, or whether he just decides, he has his points, this is where I'm going.
I think he won't wait at all. He's a former talk radio host as well. He's a very, very good communicator, one of the best in his party. I think he'll go right after that. We're also probably going to hear a lot of military talk. He is the father of a soldier as well as Tim Kaine.
Right.
I think that is something that both of these two men bring to the table that is different than most vice presidential candidates.
And one thing Mike Pence is going to have to answer, I'd be shocked if Tim Kaine doesn't bring this up, if the moderator doesn't. It was about what Donald Trump said about PTSD yesterday, saying, and he implied that some people are weaker than others, and if you're weak, you might end up with PTSD, which is actually the opposite of what's been, it stigmatizes it, which is not the right way to go on that.